Hey everyone, Ken Horowitz from Sega16.com, back again with another pickup video. This time I'm only going to focus on one item. It's a book I have about the behind the scenes at Sega, written in 1994, and it's by Primer Publishing, and it's got all kinds of neat information about how games were made back then, including lots of concept art, images from the design documents, and even an 8-page color insert on Earthworm Jim and its concept art. So I thought it'd be cool to share that with you, and I just wanted to let you see that. So let's take a look. So here's the book. It's got a nice color cover here that gives you a picture of Larson, different animations from black and white all the way to color and into graphics. It's a really striking cover. I mean, I like the Eternal Champions use. I think this is Larson from Chicago Syndicate on the Game Gear. But I like the fact that it's nice, glossy, and in full color. Sorry. Of course, Eternal Champions is one of the highlights of American game making. Sega, so it's going to be heavily promoted, right? Of course, so is Chakan, which was designed by Annunziata. And so the book has all these different pictures and all this information. It starts out giving you a brief overview of the arcade industry, the history of the arcade industry, and then it segues into the genesis and uh, different games. Here's what it talks about the creation of Chakan, and then it goes step by step in the actual game design process. Like first the design concept, what kind of ideas get chosen, how they're selected, how they create the characters, and I like the fact that there's lots of illustrations. Look at this. This is Earthworm Jim, concept art from Earthworm Jim. And it's really interesting because even though we all know who made the game and we all know about the game itself, but it's very interesting to look at the actual process of creation, of how the character evolved. Okay, and there aren't just American games here, there are Japanese games as well, but the book focuses mostly on American games. Here we see some pages from the Eternal Champions design document, which is a pretty extensive document. Here we have more images of concept art along the margins. That's really interesting. How the controls were all laid out. And a lot of people don't really appreciate design documents. I find them fascinating because they're basically a blueprint, step by step, of how the game's going to be. Sketch art from Jurassic Park for the Genesis, more Earthworm Jim art. That's really interesting. So it's really and here we go, animating the characters and action sequences. I like how the book takes the whole process step by step. More art from Earthworm Jim. There was a lot of input at the end of the book. You can look at the acknowledgments, all the people who contributed. There are a lot of people who contributed to from Shiny. This is an interview with Fritz Freeling. This was originally in Sega Visions magazine, as were some of these images here. When I wrote the behind the design article on Jurassic Park for Sega 16, a lot of the images I got from Sega Visions magazine, and some of them are here. So here's some of the team. There's Doug Tenapel, if I'm saying that right, for Earthworm Jim. It's really neat. It's also nice to see the actual artist from back then. Here's the 8-page color insert section on Earthworm Jim. This is probably the high point of the book for me because it's glossy paper, very well done, but just the amount of artwork that's here, it just looks awesome. I mean, look at that. Princess What's Her Name. Look at the different animations, sprite animations, animation cycles, the background art. That's really, really awesome. I mean, I would have loved it if the whole book had been that way, but the fact that this is 1994, a book like this back in 1994 must have been insane to have. I wish I had found this book back then. I got mine a couple of years ago, but here we go in Jurassic Park. Here are the actual models. Interesting note is that those models were actually designed for the movie, and they were going to be used in the movie because the movie dinosaurs were going to be stop motion until Steven Spielberg decided to go with CGI, and Sega was able to use those models. Sound effects here. There's an interesting little section that was also in Sega Visions magazine. That's the interview with Sega Sound guys. Brian Coburn to the left, Dave Javalosa in the middle, and Spencer Nielsen on the right. These were all members of the Sega Multimedia Studio. It talks about how they recorded the effects. Oh, Mr. Big, lead song. They sang the theme song from Spider-Man on Sega CD. Right? And of course, like I said, you've got mostly we talk about the packaging, mostly American games. But look at this, the manual. They actually explain how they write the manual to the game. That is absolutely incredible that they go into that much detail. And they give you a little basic information on programming, which is kind of, and data storage. That's kind of just, I guess nostalgic, something cute to have today because we all know things change. Well, but that's the book. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you can find a copy on eBay, I recommend tracking it down because it's a book well worth having if you're a Sega fan and if you're a fan of gaming history in general. So that's it. Until next time, take care. Remember to head over to Sega 16 and check out our reviews, features, and interviews.